let's just pretend I said something really funny before I click record, and then we'll get right into it. It's Unforgiven 2004. Unforgiven. What's this, like the opposite of being forgiven? What does Unforgiven mean? You tell me, Piggy.
Benoit, Toys R Us. There we go.
Right. We'll save that for later. You'll have to scroll further into the video to see that image. Benoit rendering all. Here we are at Unforgiven 2004. Why are we here? Christian Cage, or just Christian at this point. He is the reason we're here for this pay-per-view, because he competes in a ladder match against Chris Jericho, and we figured because he'd just come back from injury at this point, it would be a good opportunity to catch up with Christian in this Christian Cage arc. But we've also got other stuff going on, like Randy Orton. His big world title push is going well, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it would be funny if he just lost it immediately here, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see for that one. We've also got a 5-star classic voted worst match of the year 2004 in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and we've also got a brilliant version of a Triple H promo where he rambles on and on, but we'll talk about that later. First of all, it's Unforgiven 2004. Obviously, we talked about 2004 already, but we can start off with the wrestling figures. I know we kind of touched on it last time, but you've got the ones from June. Is it looking any different?
There's not much difference. There's a Paul Heyman exclusive.
I mean, I dig my exclusives around this time. What's mainly sticking out to you, though? Like, what on this page is like, I wish I had this.
WWE Triple H started game. What was that? Oh, it was a t-shirt. All right. $20 for a medium-sized t-shirt. But his face is on the back of it. Oh.
Ooh. For the high-class fashion, wear that on a first date.
They're selling WWF belts. They're selling WWF belts, not WWE, which is weird.
I suppose if they've got the stock in there, then they got to get rid of it. But this isn't the official WWE site, is it? It's still a figure store. Yeah. So no cease and desist yet. But yeah, still selling the old stuff. It's still weird to me how in 2004 WWF was only 2 years ago, referring to it as that. And even when I started watching, WWE had only been a thing for 4 years at that point. So yeah, it's still a bit jarring to hear people refer to WWF stuff in 2004, but I suppose it wasn't that long ago anyway. Not really much to update you on the figures then.
There's a Jack's Adrenaline Series 6 Hurricane and Rosie 2-pack. It looks good.
Oh, do you remember the 2-pack that they had where it was like a WrestleMania 21 version? I don't know if it's this one, but it came with the masks.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, my friend had it as a kid, and that was cool. Any kind of merchandise that you can make out of those two was gold. And again, I think the Rey Mysterio one also had a cool mask in it, so very interesting stuff. As for the video game, I know that SmackDown vs. Raw is about to be released, isn't it?
SmackDown vs. Raw 2005, or it's just dubbed as SmackDown vs. Raw. This comes out in November, so we won't get a chance to talk about it. We can talk about it in the next episode, but we could talk about SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 in the next episode. So you know what I mean. Better if we talk about 05.
I mean, or what about Day of Reckoning? Because that would have been out now, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we can talk about... We'll talk about Day of Reckoning now, and we'll talk about SmackDown vs. Raw in the next one.
Day of Reckoning was released the 30th of August. It's a professional wrestling video game released for the GameCube in 2004. The game is based on World Wrestling Entertainment, and many of the wrestlers who were on their World Wrestling Entertainment roster at the time were included as player characters. The game also features the option to create wrestlers. The North American cover art features Trish Stratus, Triple H, and a weird Randy Orton.
That is a fair point. The whole game was very much appreciated back in the day. Did you ever play this?
I tried to play it on a laptop before, but it didn't really work.
Oh, that's a shame. I played it when I was a kid. My friend had it, and because I never had Nintendo stuff really until the Wii, so my friend had it on GameCube, and we played that a lot back in the day. So that was Very, I enjoyed that game a lot. It was very fun to play, especially like against someone else. It was a very fun gaming experience. Like, I'm not saying that SmackDown vs. Raw wasn't, but I feel like, I don't know, it might be nostalgia talking, but I feel like those GameCube games had a different, kind of more fun, playable style, you know? Like an arcadey type thing.
For people who want to know, it was released the 30th of August 2004 in North America. In Europe, it was released the 17th of September 2004. And in Japan, it was released the 13th of January 2005.
So this was actually released like bang on this show then, basically, like 2 weeks before and 1 week after in Europe. So very good representation of what the roster would be like at the time anyway. So yeah, that's cool. And as for the Raw, would we talk about the competition? Do you want to talk about Impact or no?
I'll have to Google what Impact was on at this time. It was Impact the 9th of September.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this time Impact was more sort of squash matches and like WWF Superstars type stuff before they moved on to proper TV. Because I think they were on like Fox Sports Net or something, and then they moved to Spike in 2005. So might not be worth really revisiting it. All I know is that Jarrett was probably the champion at this time anyway. I know AJ and Daniels and Joe. No, Joe wasn't there yet. But I know Triple X were there. America's Most Wanted. Those kind of guys. Jeff Hardy actually was had just debuted fairly recently at this time as well in TNA. So yeah, but you have got the Raw and SmackDown from before this show. So do you want to go through those?
Sorry, Impact was on the 10th, not the 9th. But I'm gonna just quickly see what was on Impact. So the dark match had Dallas and Kid Kat defeat Chris Sabin and the Amazing Red. The dark match had 3 Live Crew, BG James, Conan and Ron Killings defeat Alex Shelley, Matt Sydal and Titus. Who the hell is Titus? AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy defeated the Naturals, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. Monty Brown defeated Fordell Walker. Kazarian and Michael Shane with Tracy defeated Jarrell Clark and Mikey Batts. Abyss defeated Brian Owen. Team Canada Bobby Roode and Johnny Devine. Scott D'Amore defeated Chris Harris and Primetime.
Raw and SmackDown, go through them.
The results had Chris Benoit, William Regal and Tajiri and Rhino defeat Ric Flair and Batista and La Resistance. Trish Stratus defeated Nidia. Triple H defeated Eugene in a steel cage match. Tyson Tomko with Christian defeated Chris Jericho. Randy Orton defeated Kane with Lita in a steel cage match to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. SmackDown had John Bradshaw Layfield with Orlando Jordan defeat Charlie Haas with Miss Jackie. Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki with Hiroko Suzuki defeated Billy Kidman and Paul London to win the WWE Tag Team Championships. Rey Mysterio, Hardcore Holly and Rob Van Dam defeated the Dudley Boys. Bubba Ray Dudley, Devin and Spike Dudley. Eddie Guerrero vs. Kurt Angle in a lumberjack match ends in no contest, and the lumberjacks start brawling courtesy of Luther Reigns, not Roman Reigns, Luther Reigns. An early returning Big Show scheduled return was the 9th of the 23rd, so the 23rd of September. It's the last man standing after clearing out everybody. So yeah.
SmackDown sucked around this time, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that didn't sound like a terrible show, but, you know, Luther Reigns, come on. I mean, Eddie and Kurt Angle in the main event still had some stuff going on, so not too bad. And that was the show before this one. So, yeah, what were your expectations heading into Unforgiven then?
Not much, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't have much either, and I feel like that helped my enjoyment a little bit of the show. But there was some stuff in it that it wasn't like I was tearing my hair out, but I was kind of like baffled. But we will talk about that. As I said at the start, this show featured the worst match of the year, 2004. I think you know what it is.
Is it Tyson Tomko?
It absolutely is Tyson Tomko. It's a shame we're doing a Christian Cage arc and we get this from Tyson Tomko. I was hoping that we might get... Because like, on paper, you know, Tomko on pay-per-view, not too bad. But then you watch it and you're like, oh my god, this is awful. However, we've got to think about the positives here, right? And we start off... Right, first of all, it's Unforgiven, we're in Portland. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are the commentators. And we've got some fairly big matches on tonight. We've got Randy Orton versus Triple H, a match that they just kind of gave away on this pay-per-view rather than build to it over the course of a couple months, but I digress. We also had the big ladder match between Christian and Chris Jericho. That's why we're watching this. But we kick off with Chris Benoit and William Regal versus Batista and Ric Flair of Evolution. So Benoit obviously used to be the world champion like a month ago, and now I guess he's done with that, and now he's teaming with Regal against Batista and Flair. And, we'll talk about it now. Here it is on the screen. Boom. There you go. So hide your kids or take your kids to meet Chris Benoit at Toys R Us. It's the same graphic that they use on the big screen for Unforgiven. And I don't know what it is about this graphic. Can you describe how he's looking here?
He looks like he's about to beat the shit out of you in Monopoly.
Screw you and screw your kid. You are not getting an autograph. You are getting a beatdown. And that's what it's such an intense, and it's like front and center on because Unforgiven at this pay-per-view has, by the way, I really like the stage. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I love this stage.
Yeah, so it's got like little segments where it's got the pictures of the wrestlers in the match, and Benoit's render here, needlessly swole compared to the rest of them. It's like they held down Shift and dragged it wider in Photoshop because he's just so intimidating. It's the same render they used in this Toys R Us thing where he's looking like he's going to beat your kids if you come anywhere near him and with your bloody Lego and whatnot. So, funny image aside. Like, yeah.
You know, like we talked about it last week, it's basically like when people are like, so Chris, I want to do this spot where you hit me with a German and I come back and I clothesline you. And Chris like, shut the fuck up, we're doing what I say we're doing. And then you're like, okay, Chris. Okay.
No way. The Benoit hype is so over here. Not over. I mean, not over as in, oh wow, he's so over. I mean, like, it's done. Like, immediately after SummerSlam, you lose the title, boom, you're back in the mid-card. Shut up.
Benoit was there. To me, Benoit should have never been world champion. I know he deserved it.
Oh, hot take. Hot take in hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not looking at the fact that, oh wow, Murder held the world title. No, I'm looking at the fact that Benoit was never world champion material. And that's coming from someone who loves Orange Cassidy and thinks he should be world champion. But I'd rather have Orange Cassidy, who has more charisma putting his hands in his pocket than Benoit has on the mic.
He can't
Benoit's promos were basically like, hello, you mate. I would batter you at the pay-per-view and okay.
I am the world champion. I am gonna beat you, lock you in, and you tap out.
Yeah, that's how we talked.
Yeah, very much lacking in the vocal charisma department. He tells his story in the ring, it's fair enough, but I guess when you're the world champion, as we saw, you got to be able to talk on the mic for an extended period of time, and he could not do that, unfortunately, for him. But yeah, still a great wrestler, regardless. And Benoit and Regal, quite the dream team here, taking on Batista and Flair. I will say I quite enjoyed this match. We had Benoit and Flair in some funny exchanges where he'd just be chopping Flair over and over again, and then eventually Flair would go boop and fall to the flat on his face even. And then Benoit no-selling Flair occasionally, and Flair doing the, it's classic stuff to get the crowd hyped. I appreciate it. Batista sucks in this match. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
He is green as grass, and it is so weird to think that the next WrestleMania, he's winning the world title and main eventing. It
is so weird looking at it in hindsight.
How quickly plans change, because originally it was supposed to be Orton, wasn't it? And, funny enough, if you batter your world champion in your main event, spoiler alert, then he's not really going to be able to bounce back from it. But yeah, Batista is one of the fastest turnarounds, I think, for a character and like a wrestler. Because I'm not saying that he became a great wrestler immediately, but he definitely improved very quickly.
He did, yeah.
When he was put in there, it's like sink or swim, and when he's told, oh, you're right, you're winning the world title, you're winning the Royal Rumble and everything, it felt like a complete turnaround. And he had a lot of charisma after this as well, because he still seems kind of bland here, and again, like, he's the next star. He's the next bloody breakout star, and you can't see it here at all. He just feels like another big guy here. So credit to him and WWE for making that turnaround. But you know, I think maybe it's also because he's in there with Benoit and Regal, and maybe that exposes him a little bit. But you know, it is what it is. Batista uses the power mostly. Flair and Regal's exchanges are quite nice because they're working stiff. Eventually, Regal's having the heat worked on him, and that's when he makes the tag to Benoit, gets the hot tag, and that's when Rolling Germans hit on Flair. Benoit with the sharpshooter, but Flair poking Benoit in the eyes, and then the crossface. That's when Batista picking Benoit up like a little child and slamming him down was quite funny. And then that's when Batista and Regal are on the outside, and Benoit counters a figure 4 into the crossface, and then gets the submission at 15 minutes. So, yeah, I thought it was a decent opener. The crowd was into it. And, yeah, it was more of like a Raw match. Actually, no, I wouldn't say it was a Raw match. I think it was a good pay-per-view opener. What did you think?
It was an alright match.
Yeah, you weren't completely jazzed by this one?
No, Benoit, though, was... Benoit was Benoit, and that was it.
Would you say that Benoit is way more suited to this role, like opener?
Yeah, controversial maybe, but yeah.
I'm not trying to like big up Benoit or anything, like, you know, or even kind of diminish how he was as a wrestler, but I think I think hindsight makes people think that Benoit was not good, but he's a great wrestler, don't get me wrong, but like just not the kind of main event. And I know that's like a not a smart mark take, but that's one of them toxic takes, isn't it? That he shouldn't have been world champion. But you know, I'm not saying he shouldn't have been world champion. I'm just saying maybe he could have improved a lot on the stick. But still, great way to open a show for at least if you're going to have Benoit wrestle. I'm not saying this match was, but it was a decent match. Yeah. And that's when we move on to Trish Stratus and Christian backstage, and they're arguing because Christian's been out, by the way. Christian's been out of action since the summer because of an injury, like a torn groin or something. Ouch. And now he's back, and the Intercontinental title's on the line tonight. It's been vacated because Edge is injured, and they're going to be Christian and Jericho in a ladder match to decide the champion. Perfect match for both of them because they're had the big rivalry, and Trish and Christian are not on the same page, so they both want Tyson Tomko, and I don't know why he can't just be out there for both their matches.
Exactly.
So
maybe his manager clause doesn't allow it.
Maybe, yeah, or he's only getting paid for once. But anyway, apparently there's a mystery lady going around attacking her. Interesting. And Christian says, haha, won't be the first time someone got you from behind. Ooh, snap. I mean, that's your missus.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, what's bad about that? It's your miss. Like, first, yeah, like, what? That's silly. Anyway, you know. And then Trish says, ooh, Tomko, you want to fuck me? You want to fuck me, Tomko? And protect me. And then Tomko, funnily, I think it was funny, he says, well, I'm going out with her, mate. And fair enough. Made the right choice, Tomko, I think. And Christian says, oh, you slut. Like a little incel Christian, creepy little bastard Christian. And that's when we...
So I just love how in kayfabe, Trish Stratus fucked Tyson Tomko so she could get protection for the match.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Christian could offer the same.
Oh, man.
Well, he could.
Tyson
He could
Tomko
offer.
is built like a fridge, so yeah.
Yeah, true. Tomko looks like the kind of guy who... I'm not... No. Alright, never mind.
Go on, say it.
I was going to say, he'd be the kind of... The guy you'd meet in a prison shower. You know? He's got that look about him. Not that I would meet... not that I would meet anyone in a prison shower. I'm just saying, you know, that those shitty tattoos and everything. I think we talked about it in the last episode, but we'll bring it up again. Jesus.
He is what you want your creator wrestler to be.
Absolutely.
He is the creator wrestler.
He's all the defaults.
Just, do you know what he's missing? Mm-hmm. He's missing that early 2000s mid-rock, like that. Do you know the like Maven's theme?
Yes, yeah.
He's missing like Maven's theme. Like that's what he's missing. He's missing that sort of theme music. If he had that theme music, he would literally be the most generic 2000s wrestler.
Still, he uses Christian's music, which is quite generic, but still, I know what you mean. And what actually do we wait? No, I'll wait to talk about it later. No, I'll talk about it now. Christian's theme music here, I hate it so much.
I was listening to this with no volume, so I didn't hear
Oh,
it.
okay. Well, it's the one that goes dun 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 dun. It's not At Last, right? And it's not Waterproof Blonde yet with the If You Close Your Eyes. It's not that yet. So we're just in this horrible middle ground where it's like just so generic. It doesn't fit him at all. I just hate it so much. Have a listen if you can, because I don't like this theme Christian, and or Tomko even. But yeah, so now we've got the Women's Championship on the line. It's Trish Stratus defending against Victoria. Victoria has lost the championship since we last saw her to Trish. I think it was a fatal 4-way at Bad Blood, thanks to Tomko before. So another rematch here at Unforgiven. And this is, not a bad women's match for the time. I think they're both great workers in the women's division. And the crowd is fairly into it. They get the crowd into it, which is also surprising for a women's match. And so Victoria gets bloodied open early on in the face. Trish chokes out Victoria on the top rope. Then a military press into a gutbuster, pretty nice. Then Victoria tries to dive out onto Trish, but Tomko says, no, make sure Trish is safe. And then Victoria smacks Tomko with a dive over the top. Very nice.
Poor Tomko.
I know, but he no-sold it. He got right back up, which, fair enough. That was later on in the match. There were other points in this where Victoria got hit with a spine buster, Trish with a sleeper. Tilt-a-whirl side slam looks really cool, and then Trish kicks out, which I was surprised by. And then we get the moment where Tomko gets flattened by Victoria, and then chases her, chase me, and then that's when Trish gets Stratusfaction. A bit of an awkward finish, and again it went a bit awkward towards the end, but it started off pretty well, and I think, considering the standard for women's wrestling around the time, not too bad. What did you think?
Not bad at all.
Yeah,
not bad at all.
Yeah, I wasn't, not that I was expecting anything going in, but it's a nice surprise. And then we get to the worst thing I've seen in wrestling ever, maybe? It's up there.
Is it Steven Richards in drag?
Wouldn't you? Oh, how could you get? Well, they're on commentary. They're like, "Oh yeah, we obviously know who it is," and then they're like, "Oh, it's Steven Richards." So apparently, it was like a known thing. But that's when. So basically, Tomko is. This isn't even supposed to be a match. Tomko, he's smacking Victoria after the match, and then that's when this mystery woman comes out and makes the save, and then she runs away, and then Tomko says, "Come out here for a match," and eventually, when we get into the match, it turns out it's Steven Richards. Oh boy.
Is this supposed to be ha-ha laugh at the trans community, or is it ha-ha laugh at the drag queen community? I'm confused.
I think it's supposed to be ha-ha laugh at Steven Richards. I don't think it's even like necessarily supposed to be a dig. I mean, obviously the ha-ha somebody's dressed as a woman is like the vibe, isn't it? But I think that's giving it too much credit. I think it's just because Stevie Richards is trying to help Victoria and is trying to disguise himself. So yeah, then Steven Richards gets stripped down to his bra and panties, and then Tomko beats him down forever. And it's not even like people are booing or like... It's the most awkward... I think it's the most awkward feeling I've ever felt. Like the cringiest I've felt watching a wrestling show, because you can tell like the crowd is just like, oh, bless them.
Yeah.
What did you think watching this match? Yeah.
Confused.
Yeah. So yeah, he's beating him down forever, and it's you could hear a pin drop in that arena, and some people chanting "You suck," but it's not really picking up. And then eventually, a very weak, boring chant, like the most apathetic, boring chant you could hear. And then Stevie Richards comes back, and to be fair, pops the crowd when he grabs him in the nuts, and beating up Tomko, and like he's trying to do his comeback, and like some people are chanting Stevie, you know, fair enough. And then Tomko just beats him up again, and it just goes silent. And then oh dear, just beats him, and that's 6 minutes of my life I'm not getting back. Have you got anything to add to this?
No.
Do we move on? I'm not even joking. This is probably the worst thing I've ever seen in wrestling. One of the worst. Because it doesn't even elicit a reaction.
I can't say anything about this match because there's nothing to say.
Yeah, you can get it. It's just like, it's nothing, and it's boring, and it's weird, and it's strange, and it's just everything. It's like, not worth my time. So, next up, how are they going to follow that with the Intercontinental title ladder match? I don't think it's fair to follow, because you just can't follow Tyson Tomko and Steven Richards. But they tried. It's the Intercontinental title on the line in a ladder match. Edge has vacated the title because he's injured. So now we get Jericho and Christian fighting because Christian's back. And they're fighting a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know what your expectations were going into this one, but what do you think of this kind of angle?
It was a good angle, I will admit.
Yeah, because they kind of shifted the focus away from Trish now, and they're just like, it's just them, you know, their kind of feud. So, again, the crowd, they literally killed the crowd for this match from the last one. So they're talking trash. Christian slaps Jericho and then gets beaten up. And CLB chants from the crowd after JR says it on commentary, which is pretty funny. Christian throws Jericho out. And then Christian gets backdropped to the floor, takes a really high back bump. Christian dodges Jericho when he's swinging the ladder, and then eventually Jericho goes outside with him. Jericho, this match, most of it was just Jericho launching ladders and clattering Christian, launches the ladder right at Christian's face, has all of it directly in his, like, completely up in his face. It felt like Jericho was literally trying to kill him. Go into the crowd, and then fight amongst them. And then when we get to ringside, bam, Unprettier on the floor, kill switch, whatever you want to call it, devastating to Chris Jericho. I felt they built up the ladder spots well. I don't know, what's your opinion on that?
They built them up pretty well.
I would say, because it's not the most exciting ladder match, is it?
No, but it's a good ladder match. It is good.
Yeah, it's good, but, you know, I think they, especially Christian, has elevated the part of the reason that ladder matches are so difficult to follow since the TLC days. But it was still fun, and you could tell that the psychology made sense for the most part in this one. You know, Jericho would try and climb, and then Christian would follow him. He wouldn't just like they weren't doing silly stuff, you know. There was one point where Jericho kind of flipped off Christian and he came back down the ladder, which I thought was really stupid, but that's beside the point. There's a ladder in the corner, and then Jericho catapulted into it. Then Jericho is set up in the corner with a ladder, and then Jericho just wallops Christian with the ladder. Crowd gets into it again. Then we get a drop kick. This is after Jericho's flipped him off, by the way. Christian comes down the ladder, grabs the ladder in his hand, and then Jericho drop kicks him from the second rope and bulldogs him onto it. And then goes for the Lion's Salt, and nasty landing. Lands right on the ladder, clattering his knee. And then Christian, like a snail or a slug, slowly going up the ladder. And funny enough, Jericho catches him and pulls the ladder out from under him. That was a fun little spot. And then Christian's like dangling from the top, and then Jericho, bam, hits him with a ladder, and then flat front bump onto the floor from the rung of the ladder, which I thought was probably my favourite point of this match. I don't know, what was your highlight? What was your favourite bit of this match?
My highlight were when Christian was climbing the ladder, and Jericho knocks him in that weird lion salt, or not lion salt,
Lion Tamer.
The lion tamer on the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, because I felt like they mispositioned it, so it was just because you could see Christian try and hook his arms around Jericho as well, and then that's when Christian like falls flat. But they tried, I guess. And then oh jeez, this was the bit where I winced and I nearly dropped my my pasta I was eating at the time of this match, because he falls, the ladder's pushed out from under Jericho, and Jericho gets spiked in his ass on his tailbone. So nasty.
Yeah, his poor ass. My
hole. Right on his... Yeah, it made me physically cringe. Like, you get the ladder matches where people fall off ladders and stuff, but they're taking a safe landing for the most part. But this one, oh jeez, like clearly, oh nasty. Yeah, so they go up, set up 2 ladders, and then Jericho with a big bulldog to Christian to the mat, but he doesn't. He lands on a weird way. He just lands on his front. I remember the one. Was it TLC 4? He hit a bulldog to Bubba Ray from the ladders, which was better executed. And then Jericho goes up. You think Christian's going to grab him again, but then he just grabs the title and wins. I thought it was a weird end. It felt like a very anticlimactic ending. I felt like there was one more spot they could have done there. Maybe have Christian climb up and then have him like pulled through the ladder or something, or like thrown to the outside. But yeah, like it just felt like there was a weird spot to end on, and it was the spots were interesting and they built to them well. It wasn't the best ladder match you're ever going to see, but certainly wasn't the worst. It was definitely worth a watch. What do you think of this one?
It was the best match of the night. I recommend going out and watching it.
Yeah, I would as well. I mean, it's not like going to be my favourite match of all time. Like, I probably wouldn't watch it again, but there's still enough in there that if you've not seen it before, go and check it out. Then we get Kane, the good guy. Well, he's not the good guy yet. He's soon to turn face, funny enough, but you wouldn't know it because he's impregnated Lita against her will and is marrying her, or has married her. And so Lita's like, I hope that Shawn Michaels crushes Kane, and Beta Matt Hardy is not here anymore. And then Kane's like, isn't it lovely when your wife's so supportive? And it's like, cute. Not really, forceful impregnation and all that. Horrible angle. This is one of the worst times in WWE history in terms of like tastelessness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably don't want to talk about it too much because it's just awful, isn't it?
It's very awful.
Like, you can't make it up. Kane, against Lita's will, like assaults her and she ends up pregnant, and then you wouldn't see this in EastEnders. You need to. No. Why don't you get the Watching Wolford people on to review this Kane angle? For soap buffs.
I'll see what I can do.
Because this is the ultimate soap opera after all. But I don't think even in those kind of storylines that the man who, the monster who assaulted this helpless woman and forced her to carry his child, would end up becoming the good guy, and Lita would end up siding with him for months. How we just ignored that, I don't know. Oh, luckily I think we skipped that on this arc. But this is the only thing we're going to talk about here. But then we get Jericho backstage. He's saying he feels like shit because he's busted his asshole open on the ladder. And then Edge with his awkward kind of face. He's kind of face, kind of heel, where he's like, I'm going to come back for that title, Jericho. And yeah, lacking a lot of charisma is Edge here. It's so weird because he used to have so much in the Edge and Christian days. And then it feels like it's... He's on like a level where he's like really charismatic, really funny, and then he dips a lot like after 2002 and like 2004. I think Edge is one of Edge's worst years. I suppose he's just coming back from injury though, to be fair to him. And then like the Rated R Superstar stuff, he's like completely different guy. Yeah. But then we get a recap of the Lita Kane stuff, and now no disqualification. Shawn Michaels versus Kane. This is, you want to talk about why this match is famous in some circles?
This match is famous because I don't know if it's true, but apparently this is the match that causes Shawn Michaels' lazy eye.
So it's either it's like a leg drop or something that goes awry, but I didn't notice it in this match, because to be fair, I wasn't looking out for it because I didn't know that until you told me before we started this. But yeah, this is the match where Shawn gets a lazy eye in reality, but in storyline he doesn't get it until the Jericho stuff where he's thrown through the Jeritron. Yeah, so Kane attacking Shawn Michaels early, and then Shawn kicks him in the face, Fez press. Shawn does his standard comeback, and then Kane looking a bit like a dumb idiot, missing all these moves, missing these clotheslines and hitting the ring post, and then misses a boot as well at some point, and then gets hit in a figure four. Michaels jumps off the top, but then Kane with a... To be fair to Kane, he's got a hell of a uppercut. Kane then misses an elbow, and then Shawn throws him over the top. And then Shawn nearly takes out Lita as well. But then Kane uses Lita as a human shield and then cheap shot Shawn. And that's when... oh, by the way, Shawn Michaels was out of action because Kane stood on Michaels' neck with a chair and then took him out for a couple months, and they're kind of playing into that. Kane then slamming Michaels on the announce table, and then slamming him again, destroying the announce table. Still kicks out though, and then just working on Michaels' throat. Michaels gets a boot up, but takes a side slam as well. Lita does try and get the crowd into it for Shawn, and then DDT to turn the tide. Flying forearm. Kane, he's back up, but then Shawn kips up as well and keeps beating him up. But every time that Kane knocks him down, Michaels keeps getting up. And I like that spot. Kane does get a clothesline off the top and then tries to go for a choke slam, but then boom, kick to the dick and chair shot, whacking him. Jesus, they were not holding back with these chair shots back in 2004.
No, they weren't.
We'll find that out as well later on in the night. But that's when Lita comes in and grabs the chair. And sweet chin music, but instead grabs the foot, spins him around, choke slam. No, Shawn gets out of it again, and then sweet chin music. Kane takes a weird bump off this. It's like he jumped back after getting hit in the face.
Yeah.
So, I would say it was. So obviously Michaels gets the win. I think it's a fun. Not fun. This is not a fun angle, right? Not a fun angle. But as a match, ignore the angle, ignore the Lita stuff. The match, it was alright. You know, I thought the ending sequence was pretty interesting. It did drag a little bit in the middle, but I thought it was fine for what it was. What about you?
It was a fine match. Nothing of note happened except for the lazy eye.
But even that, you can't really pin. I couldn't really pin down what it was or where it was in the match.
Yeah.
I think Shawn does blade in this one, as well, which each to their own. But yeah, it's Kane 2004. I don't think this is his best year. To be fair, you could say that about a lot of Kane years though. But we'll have to wait and see. We get a hype package for Shelton Benjamin returning. Didn't know he was gone. But yeah, fair enough. He's coming back, and he will soon win the Intercontinental Championship, actually, and have a decent run with it, but doesn't really get past that point. And then Triple H has a promo on the mic backstage. He buries Randy Orton. That's it. Randy Orton's shit and is a shit world champion. What did you think of this promo?
I skipped to the match. I couldn't listen to Triple H.
Oh my god, he went on for so long. It felt like every time I thought he was going to wrap it up, he kept going. This is Reign of Terror. When people talk about when Triple H sucks, this is what they're talking about. Okay, but what this next matchup did you skip this one?
I didn't skip it. I just went for a shit during half the match.
Oh, okay, all right, fair enough. What, the World Tag Team Title match? Yeah.
Oh no, not the World Title match. Sorry, the Randy Orton and Triple
Yeah,
H match.
yeah. So that one. But we'll get to that one in a moment. Well, we got the World Tag Team title match first. La Resistance versus Rhino and Tajiri. And then Grenier does the whole, the Quebec, Canada national anthem. And that's when Rhino and Tajiri run in. And I think that I assume they're just going to go straight after La Resistance, but they don't. They just stop, which is a bit weird. But yeah, they... It's not a great match, I would say. I mean, Tajiri's fast and that, but La Resistance are a typical WWE tag team the heel tag team in the 2000s, just two guys doing heel shtick, not really doing a lot. Tajiri does some nice stuff here. And then I will tell you what, I will say one thing, the spot where they have to set up Grenier getting hit in the nuts is such a great nut spot because, not in that way, sorry, that sounds dirty. They forgot what I was saying. Rhino spinebuster to Grenier, yeah. And then Grenier so basically Grenier backdrops Tajiri over the top rope and then lands on the flag and it whacks Sylvain in the nuts. Very convoluted spot, but they played it off pretty well. And that's when Rhino hits a nice gore, but that's when Rob Conway puts Grenier's leg on the ropes to break the count. The referee's distracted, and then Sylvain blasts Rhino with a flagpole and tries to throw the flag out, but somehow the referee doesn't see it. But then, gets the win. Does La Resistance. But yeah, not really good, but it's a cooldown for the main event. Not that the main event needed a cooldown, as we'll get to, but yeah, what did you think of this one?
It was an alright tag team match. Not much to say.
No. So we've got a World Championship match up next. And by the way, it's still, I don't want to say fairly early on in the show. There's only been 2 hours. And the show, to be fair, is only 2.5 hours. So a bit shorter than your average pay-per-view. But you definitely felt like they'd gone under because of the post-match stuff lasted for a hell of a long time. But yeah, we've got the World Heavyweight Championship match. Randy Orton defends against Triple H. Of course, Randy Orton, the youngest world champion ever. Younger than I am right now, in fact, which is a scary thought. Orton is now the plucky young babyface after being a heel for so long, and it's not working, really. But, it started off well, beat Benoit at SummerSlam. Triple H turns on him, and then we get the feud between them, and it culminates here. Unforgiven, quite soon to be doing this match. What do you think?
I think it is quite soon. You are right.
I don't know where you could have had Triple H win the championship. I wouldn't have had Triple H versus Randy Orton in a one-on-one scenario. I would have had maybe a rematch between Orton and Benoit at this pay-per-view, and then maybe you go into maybe the night after this you do Triple H turning on Randy Orton. And that way you can build up to the Survivor Series. And then that way you don't have to have the world title on the line. And then you could even do what they ended up doing in the Elimination Chamber, where Triple H ended up beating Randy Orton in that. And then if you wanted to go on and do Orton versus Triple H at Mania, you could do that. Or even Orton versus Triple H versus Batista. But, history told us that Batista was the guy in that moment. So it worked out in the end. But yeah, I don't know. What would you have done booking this?
I would have Triple H versus Randy Orton at Survivor Series.
Yeah, and then have Triple H go over in that one, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Because at least it gives Orton some chance with the gold, Because it just feels like he doesn't get any time. Not that it wasn't... in hindsight, it never clicked. But at the time, surely you want to give him a little bit more, He just looks like a big goof, but... Yeah, I did really like the Ruthless Aggression promo package at the start, with the Saliva, shitty music that they had on in the background. I never liked this song, even as a kid, and I love Saliva, by the way. But yeah, it's like typical, cheesy nu metal garb from WWE. It made it look like it was a lot longer of a feud than it was, because they showed the same clips like 3 or 4 times, considering there was only like 3 weeks since SummerSlam. So yeah, when we start off, I think it's quite fun. There's a big stare down. They try and make it epic, and they try and get in position in the corner. Triple H shoves Orton, and then Orton slaps him in the face. and then some headlocks, head scissors, and then shoved again, and then Orton slaps him, and then oh my goodness, spits in his face. Gross. That's when Triple H and Orton just fight it out, and that's when Orton throws Triple H right to the floor, and a couple of uppercuts in the ring. I'm expecting Triple H to do a flare flop, but doesn't in the end. And Hunter goes away for a bit, gets out of a slam, and then gets Orton in a knee, and then tries to get Orton's leg around the ring post, but Orton reverses it instead. And then drop toe hold, and then Indian Deathlock, and this is when we get the Reign of Terror match. Whenever I see the Indian Deathlock from Triple H, I know, it's about to kick into slow gear, if you know what I mean. What did you think? What were you thinking, like, when you were, like, halfway through this one?
It was just boring.
Oh, yeah, it was. Because I'm not going to lie, I've never heard this match talked about in good favour. But I was expecting a little bit more, you know? They're two rival. Like, it started off well, don't get me wrong. I thought, with the headlocks and head scissors takeovers and stuff, I was like, maybe it'll pick up from here. It didn't pick up. And, it was really, really slow and plodding and boring. And I think I was, I think I kind of tuned out a little bit during the middle bit. Typical Triple H heel stuff. I didn't even see when Triple H got busted open. I think it might have been like a turnbuckle bump or something like that, but yeah, who knows? So needless blood here, and then gets a power slam to Orton. So he's trying to get back into it, and he's got a great drop kick. But yeah, then DDT, sleepers, and then backdrop, and Triple H with a flying nothing off the second rope, and then foot up, and then a crossbody, and kicks out. So it gets a little bit better, but still, once it's starting to get a tiny bit better, then we get the ref bump. And then, guess who runs it? Well, first of all, Triple H goes to the pedigree and then reversed into an RKO. And then, of course, Ric Flair runs out. And then Batista runs out. And then a low blow. And then Jonathan Coachman comes out as a referee for some reason. And Orton punches Coach. And then Spinebuster from Batista. It's not over. Triple H with a pedigree. But instead it's backdropped and then hits Coach with an RKO. I thought that was a nice little slick sequence, as much as it was bollocks. And then Flair with hit with an RKO. And then Triple H hits Orton with a chair. And then pedigrees Orton onto the chair. And then ref toss back in, and you think, maybe it's been so long, maybe he'll kick out. 1, 2, 3. Oh, cool. Triple H is the champion again. And they were trying very, very hard to make Orton feel like he's like the underdog here. And it was not working. And then the post-match goes forever. The point where the Triple H's music loops and Triple H gets carried out, and Orton's like, I'm fuming that I've lost the World Championship. And, very dull main event. What do you think?
Yeah, very dull main event.
I don't want to say I got my hopes up, but WrestleMania 25 should have been an indication to me anyway. But I stupidly fell for it. I was like, it can't be that bad, surely. It was. It sucked. Like, when it started off well, went really boring in the middle, started to get into it a little bit more when Orton was making the comeback, and then when everyone came down to ringside, it was so stupid. It made Orton look really stupid. And then, Orton sucked as a babyface back then, and I don't think Orton was ever good as a face until the stuff with Riddle. Is that a hot take?
No.
Because I feel like, his 2011 run wasn't too bad with the Nexus and all that, but he never really, here, he's just so out of place as a face. I understand why they wanted to try it, but still completely miscast. And a bland end to a not great show really. I mean, I wasn't going in expecting it to be the best show of all time or anything, but not very good. I mean, I will say, I'll give it credit, right? The ladder match was decent, all right, and the opening tag was decent too. Michaels Kane was decent as well. but then you get like the World Tag Team title match. The women's title match was fine as well for what it was, but again, most of what this card was fine. And then you had terrible stuff like the Tomko match was awful. The main event, while not awful, it was just really boring. And then like stuff like the La Resistance match was just like you could have done it on Raw, you know. And then the angles surrounding the matches as well. Like the Michaels Kane match was fine, except for the fact that you had this bloody marriage angle going on as well. Yeah, very, very weird show. Not great. What did you think?
It was not a great show. It was not a great show at all.
There's a reason I haven't watched this. This was the first time I've ever watched this show, because I used to own most pay-per-views on DVD from this era, and I never owned this one. And now I'm glad I didn't, because it wasn't very good. There's better pay-per-views in 2004 to watch. Not in the immediate aftermath of this, because then we get No Mercy 2004, and I think that's even worse. So, not a great year for WWE creatively, in many respects, I suppose. They're still trying to find their feet, trying to find who is the next guy. Little did they know it would be that big animal from the first matchup that would be the next one to be the star, the breakout star on Raw. And, I mean, any final thoughts on this pay-per-view? No. Very bad.
No.
Very bad pay-per-view. So, that was Unforgiven.
Side note.
Yes,
side
of
note.
course.
Well, you were talking about this match. I ordered your Christmas present.
Already?
Do you want to know what it is?
Yeah, what is it?
Right, you're not going to believe me, but this is a real 2-pack, and I ordered it for you.
What is it? You have to tell me.
You'll have to look.
Is this new? Is this new?
This is new.
Is this a reveal?
At the time, this was revealed today.
Oh my god!
Recording.
Thank you so much for buying this for me. While we're recording, it might date it a little bit, maybe not. It's a Undertaker Gobbledygooker 2-pack.
Yeah.
Notice how they didn't reveal it on Saturday, because people would have thought it was an April Fool's.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, again, this might date this podcast, I don't know. I don't care. But I want that Gobbledygooker. Did you actually order it for me?
I did.
Oh my god, thank you so much. Gobbledygooker is going to become the NLW champion. I'm going to throw the whole booking system out the window with this one. But yeah, that was a nice... If the Gobbledygooker was on this show, I'll tell you, it would have been way better Unforgiven. If you'd had Tyson Tomko versus the Gobbledygooker, it would have been a lot more tolerable, I think. Maybe not. Who knows? So yeah, that was Unforgiven 2004. Thankfully, though, we've got a very good pay-per-view coming up next week.
Vengeance, isn't it?
It is Vengeance. 2 World Championship matches on the same show, on a B pay-per-view even, with the WWE Championship on the line and a triple threat. A Hell in a Cell. Christian getting a title match on pay-per-view. Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle. This is one of the goats of brand exclusive pay-per-views. And it will be a very nice palate cleanser for this shit show that was Unforgiven 2004. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, it's time to do the results for Raw, SmackDown, and Impact. So, the night after, Chris Benoit with William Regal defeated Rob Conway, Seville Grania, I'm not pronouncing that. Victoria, Nydia, and Stacey Keebler defeated Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, and Gail Kim. Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho defeated Christian and Tyson Tonko. Kane and Lita versus Gene Snitsky ended in a no contest, and Kane accidentally injured Lita. Randy Orton defeated Evolution, Triple H, Ric Flair, and Batista in a 3-on-1 handicap match. They were doing 50-50 booking back then.
I know.
Shocking.
It's 20 years.
John Cena defeated Booker T in a best-of-5 series match. Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam defeated the Dudley Boys with Spike Dudley. Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree defeated the FBI. Johnny Staboli and Nunzio to retain the WWE Tag Team Championships. Charlie Haas defeated Spike Dudley by DQ with the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devin. yeah, so that's that.
Can I just say as well, if they'd ended the brand split here, my God, the show would have been so much better. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and Impact. Team Canada, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and Petey Williams with Scott D'Amore defeated Team Mexico. Abismo Negro, or Jesus, I hope that didn't come out racist. Heavy Metal and Mr. Agula. Dallas and Kid Cash defeated Chris Sabin and the Amazing Red. Jeff Jarrett defeated Lex Lovett. AJ Styles defeated Alex Shelley with Goldilocks. So yeah, that's the competition.
That's not too bad. I mean, yeah, like I said before, if you what's it? Yeah, the brand split. If they'd ended it, because this show, if you'd had like Rob Van Dam, Rey Mysterio on it, it'd be so much better. But you know, I understand they want to do their touring and they want to do their branding and everything. But you know, especially at this time with Rock Austin, Brock Goldberg, all those guys gone, you don't have enough star power on the individual shows anymore. And I think, yeah, they kind of knew that. Let's just hope that by the time we get to Vengeance 2005, there'll be 2 new big stars. I wonder. Ooh, foreshadowing.
I wonder, indeed.
Yeah, so that will be Vengeance next time. But for now, you are not unforgiven. You are not unforgiven, pigs. You are forgiven. And that is, I'm going to end on a nice note there and just let you know that I forgive you.
I forgive you too.
For making me watch this show.
No, you made me watch the show.
Oh, of course, yeah, I decided to watch this show. Yeah. Am I forgiven?
Yeah.
Are you going to rescind it and it'll be unforgiven?
No comment.
Okay. Well, we'll be here for Vengeance. Unforgiven, Vengeance, it's all the same thing, let's be honest. Anyway, we'll see you next time for Vengeance 2005, Christian, Captain Charisma, and the WWE Championship.